Thank you for tuning in to Keano Reads Goosebumps. I have made a number of videos based around this rather wonderful book. The Art of Goosebumps by Sarah Rodriguez has, by way of introduction, 2 interviews, one with Stein and the other with Tim Jacobus. It is the latter that I would like to share with you today. I hope you enjoy an interview with Tim Jacobus. How were you approached to become the cover artist for Goosebumps? And what was your initial impression of the series concept? Did you think it would go as far as it did? I had worked with Scholastic for a few years on other book projects and hadn't screwed anything up. When the Goosebumps series came along, it came down to being in the right place at the right time. I'm embarrassed to say that I didn't know who R.L. Stine was. He was already famous, but I'd never heard of him, and I'm sure he had never heard of me either. I was told R.L. was writing a series of scary books for middle school kids with a touch of humour thrown in. I was told it would be a few books, maybe 6. After reading the first story excerpt, it just seemed like fun. The folks at Scholastic were very unsure how the age group would respond to the series, which didn't take off right away, and early sales weren't great. But then something just happened, and it took off. I didn't have kids at the time, so I may have been the last to know that the series was a hit. I'm still amazed and humbled by the fact that the series remains popular and is still so fondly remembered. Of all the classic Goosebumps covers, which was the most labour-intensive? Which of your creations took the most out of you? Night in Terror Tower was a tough one. Each Goosebumps cover typically took a week to complete from start to finish. I had taken on a lot of covers that month, along with Terror Tower. When it came to do the cover art, I had to squeeze the full week's worth of work into 30 straight hours, a very long stretch of non-stop painting. But I got it done. I drove it to NYC and delivered it on time. There are a couple of things that I would have done differently if I had extra time. After so many years, I don't remember doing many of those illustrations, but I remembered Terror Tower vividly. Are there any covers you wish you could go back and rework or repaint completely? I have a thing about all my paintings. I always want to go back and tweak them. It's a little obsessive-compulsive behaviour, but overall, I like all the Goosebumps book covers as they are. There aren't any I would want to redo from scratch, but I would like to touch up all of them. Do you listen to anything while you paint? The voices in my head. Actually, there's always music playing when I'm working. I like prog rock, but I listen to more than that. I like the longer jam style of playing, which comes in many forms. Yes, the Grateful Dead, the Allman Brothers, Santana, Moe, Marillion, the Porcupine Tree. Any band that's got a 20-minute song, I'm in for the ride. Some of the early influences on your craft. I was, and am, a huge fan of Roger Dean. I became familiar with his work, specifically his album art for the band Yes. When I was in high school, I loved his alternative worlds and use of imagination. I spent my teen years trying and failing to recreate his paintings. For those of you who are not familiar with Roger's album art, check out the movie Avatar. His art was a huge influence on that movie, even though no one from the movie studio was willing to admit it. Is there a creature you never got the chance to paint, that you would like to take a shot at someday? The new Goosebumps movies brought many of the characters together in one place at the same time. I never got to do any character combos, but I'd like to do an image or two where a few of the Goosebumps characters are in an iconic location, like Slappy, Curly, the Mummy, and a lawn gnome walking across Abbey Road, like the Beatles album cover. Do you ever worry about striking a balance between being scary while still being kid-friendly? My style is a bit cartoonish and not ultra-realistic. That takes the edge off right from the start. The saturated colours were another way to keep the images from being too horrific, and never any red blood. There was a lot of monster blood, and that was always green, more like slime than anything else. Did you choose which elements you would include on the cover without spoiling the story? Well, R.L. was writing the story at the same time I was doing the cover. He would give me a short description, a few sentences or a paragraph describing a scene. I finished nearly every Goosebumps cover without ever knowing how the story ended. There are still a few that I don't know what happened. Have you been labelled as a Goosebumps guy, and has that affected how others view your non-Goosebumps art? I have been labelled as that guy. It was only a problem during one time period. In the early 2000s, Goosebumps took a break and I needed to find new work. No one wanted me because they were looking for someone new and different, and felt that my Goosebumps style was played out. I felt like I was in an 80s hair band in the grunge rock world. I dove into digital technology and discovered a new world to be creative in. Eventually, the classic Goosebumps art came back into style because of nostalgia, and I couldn't be happier. I'm proud to be known as the original Goosebumps guy. Lord knows I've been called way worse things. Were you responsible for the iconic Goosebumps slimy logo? I can't take any credit for the Goosebumps logo. That was developed by one of the art directors at Scholastic. It is iconic. And so concludes today's episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. Feel free to like, comment and subscribe. Until next time, hope to see you soon. Keano. For more Goosebumps related content, check out @KeanoReads on Instagram. Lastly, consider visiting Keano Reads' Etsy store by following the links down in the description below. I hope to see you again soon. Keano.